Introduction. Life is not a passive experience. It is an ongoing spiritual journey that challenges us at the deepest levels. While most of us encounter difficulties, there are those who face the most intense challenges, not by accident but by destiny. They are the chosen ones. This concept is not a fairy tale, but a reality that anyone can embrace. These chosen individuals do not passively accept life as it comes, but actively engage with the toughest spiritual, emotional, and mental tests that shape their transformation. This journey is about self-discovery, personal growth, and spiritual awakening. Test 1. Confronting your true self. The first challenge the chosen ones face is to confront who they truly are. Our lives often revolve around external markers, our career, relationships, material possessions. But the first test strips all of this away, forcing us to look in the mirror and ask the difficult question, who am I really? This moment is terrifying, but necessary for personal growth. It is in this confrontation with the self, when we strip away the illusions we create, that we begin to understand the truth of our existence. Most people turn away at this moment, unable to handle the vulnerability and the fear. But the chosen ones stand firm, staring into the abyss, ready to discover their true essence. They do not hide from the truth. They seek it, no matter how difficult. Test 2. Embracing isolation. The second test is one of solitude. In a world filled with noise, social media, work, family, friendships, it is hard to find peace and quiet. The chosen ones are required to step into isolation, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. They must sit alone with their thoughts, confront their fears, and understand their desires. In the silence, they hear a voice, their true self, the voice drowned out by the chaos of daily life. This test asks us to embrace silence and solitude. Many fear this moment because they are unsure of what they might find within themselves. But for those who pass this test, they discover their inner truth and are able to separate their authentic self from the noise of the world. Test 3. The power of letting go. Letting go is one of the most challenging tests we face. We cling to expectations, past hurts, disappointments, and attachments to people or things. Letting go is not about forgetting or not caring, it's about releasing the weight of attachments that bind us. The third test demands that we let go of everything: the past, the future, the expectations. It is a continual process of releasing, but it's not easy. Often, we think we've let go only to realize we're still clinging. The chosen ones must repeatedly ask themselves, how much am I willing to release to truly be free? Test 4. The dark night of the soul. Perhaps the most intense challenge is what is known as the dark night of the soul. This is the moment when everything you thought you knew crumbles. Relationships dissolve, careers falter, and a sense of purpose disappears. During this period, the chosen ones face profound inner turmoil. But the darkness is not the end, it is a purification. It is a necessary phase in spiritual growth. Most people give up during this stage. They fall into despair. But those who endure the darkness eventually find their light. They trust that even in the darkest moments, there is a deeper purpose unfolding. It is not a punishment, it is the universe testing their faith, their resilience, and their commitment to their spiritual evolution. Test 5. The test of faith. During the dark night of the soul, the test of faith becomes vital. This is not faith in a religious sense, but faith in the self, in the universe, and in life itself. Faith is not blind. It is about recognizing the pain, acknowledging it, and still choosing to trust in the greater plan. The chosen ones understand that everything is unfolding for a reason, even if that reason is unclear. They hold on to faith when everything around them seems to be falling apart. They trust the process, knowing that the darkness is temporary, and the light will come. How strong is your faith when everything is falling apart? This is a question that tests every individual, but the chosen ones hold on, knowing that faith is what sustains them. Test 6. Surrender. After enduring the pain and the questioning, the next test is surrender. This test challenges us to release control over our lives. We often try to control everything, to plan, organize, and make things happen according to our desires. But life has its own plan, and it doesn't always follow our expectations. Surrendering means letting go of the illusion that we control everything. It's about trusting in life's flow and understanding that resistance only leads to suffering. The chosen ones learn to surrender to life's currents, understanding that control is an illusion. They know that by letting go of control, They align themselves with a greater force, allowing life to unfold as it should. Test 7. Awakening. The final test is the awakening. This is when the chosen ones truly realize their purpose. It is the moment when the veil lifts, and they understand the deeper truth of their existence. They see that they are not separate from life. They are life itself, experiencing the world through a unique lens. The awakening is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of a new one. Once the chosen ones awaken, they are no longer bound by their ego or fears. They live with purpose, joy, and freedom. The final test is about realization, about understanding that the struggles were designed to bring them closer to this truth. Their purpose is not something to search for, it's something they've been living all along. Personal insights and reflections. Throughout this journey, the real challenge is not overcoming external obstacles, but confronting the inner self. It is about recognizing the illusions we hold, letting go of attachments, and surrendering to the flow of life. This process requires immense strength, faith, and trust in the unseen forces guiding us. However, it's important to remember that these tests are not to be feared but embraced. They are opportunities for growth and transformation. In the end, the chosen ones are not those who never face challenges, but those who embrace the challenges and emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with their true selves. Example stories. A story of letting go. A woman, who spent years in a relationship defined by resentment and unmet expectations, learned the power of letting go. When she decided to release her attachment to the outcome, to trust the universe, she found peace and began a new chapter of her life where she could be her authentic self. The dark night of the soul. A man lost everything: his job, his relationships, his health, and spiraled into depression. He faced a profound internal battle. But through this darkness, he found his deepest light. He learned to trust in the process, and eventually, he rebuilt his life with greater wisdom, understanding that his challenges were part of his spiritual evolution. The path of awakening, a journey through the tests. As we continue our exploration of the chosen ones, the ultimate purpose of the tests they undergo becomes clearer: the transformation into a higher state of being. These tests, though grueling and often seemingly insurmountable, serve a singular purpose: to awaken us to our true nature and understanding of the universe. In Buddhism, this is akin to the journey toward enlightenment, where the aspirant not only faces immense trials but ultimately overcomes them to realize the interconnectedness of all things. The core of Buddhist teachings emphasizes detachment, mindfulness, and compassion, with the ultimate goal being the liberation from suffering, dukkha. This process is not about avoiding pain, but understanding and transcending it. Let's reflect on some famous stories that illustrate this profound journey of self-realization and awakening. The story of Prince Siddhartha, the awakening to the truth. One of the most iconic stories in Buddhist tradition is that of Siddhartha Gautama, who would later become known as the Buddha. As a prince, Siddhartha lived a life of luxury, shielded from the realities of the world by his father. However, one day, he ventured outside the palace walls and encountered the realities of old age, sickness, and death. This moment was the catalyst for his journey of awakening. It was not just his exposure to suffering that transformed him, but his decision to confront it head-on, rather than retreat into the comforts of his previous life. Siddhartha's journey into the forest, where he practiced extreme asceticism, represents the first test of confronting the truth of life, that suffering is inevitable, and the pursuit of pleasure alone is insufficient to overcome it. Eventually, he realized that the middle way, a balanced path of moderation, would lead to the end of suffering, and it was under the Bodhi tree that he attained enlightenment. This story illustrates the first test that the chosen ones must face, the test of confronting the truth of who we are and understanding the nature of suffering. Siddhartha, like all aspirants on the path to awakening, was tested by the very fabric of human existence. It was through his perseverance, despite the temptations and distractions of worldly life, that he became awakened. This is the message to us all: the truth may be uncomfortable, but it is through facing it that we find freedom. The story of Angulimala, the power of compassion. Another powerful story in Buddhist teachings is that of Angulimala, a notorious bandit who once terrorized the countryside. Angulimala's path to redemption is a stark reminder that no one is beyond transformation. He started his journey as a ruthless killer, collecting fingers from his victims to form a necklace. However, one day, he encountered the Buddha while on a killing spree. Despite Angulimala's threats, the Buddha spoke to him with a sense of compassion that pierced through his hardened heart. The Buddha did not judge or condemn Angulimala. Instead, He showed him the path of redemption through mindfulness and understanding. Angulimala's awakening was not immediate, but through meditation and contemplation, he realized the depth of his wrongdoings and chose to renounce violence. This story highlights the transformative power of compassion, not just for others but for ourselves as well. It shows that awakening is not about being perfect, but about recognizing our imperfections and working towards overcoming them.
Angulimala's journée demonstrate test. The test of letting go.
He had to let go of his identity as a killer and embrace the possibility of change. This process was not immediate, and the test was hard. Just as the Buddha's teachings offer a path of liberation, they also show us that true freedom comes from letting go of harmful attachments, in Angulimala's case, to violence and hatred.
The story of Venerable Sariputta. The test of fight.
In Buddhism, faith is not blind belief but an understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. The story of Venerable Sariputta, one of the Buddha's chief disciples, illustrates this beautifully. Sariputta was initially a follower of another teacher, but realized that the teachings he was following did not lead to liberation. Upon hearing the Buddha's words, Sariputta's heart was moved, and he chose to follow the Buddha. One of the central elements of Sariputta's practice was his deep faith in the Buddha's wisdom and in the potential for enlightenment within all beings. This faith did not come from dogma or fear, but from a direct understanding of the truth. It was an unwavering belief in the possibility of awakening for anyone who was willing to walk the path of right mindfulness, ethical conduct, and wisdom.
Sariputta's story illustrates the first test. The test of fight.
In our own lives, when we are faced with challenges and doubts, we must cultivate faith not in a religious sense, but in our own ability to overcome obstacles and awaken to the truth. Faith, as taught by the Buddha, is an active process, not passive. It is a trust that, even in the darkest times, there is a greater purpose unfolding.
The test of surrender. The paradox of control.
One of the most difficult tests we face on the path to awakening is the test of surrender. In the Buddha's teachings, surrender is not about giving up or being passive. It is about letting go of the illusion of control. The story of the Buddha's awakening under the Bodhi tree is a perfect example of this surrender. During his meditation, the Buddha was tempted by Mara, the embodiment of desire and distraction. Mara tried to break the Buddha's concentration with visions, temptations, and even threats, but the Buddha did not fight or resist. Instead, he surrendered to the moment, trusting that his inner wisdom was stronger than any external force. Through this surrender, he became awakened. This test of surrender is reflected in the teachings of the Buddha, where the goal is not to fight against life but to flow with it, trusting that the universe is unfolding as it should. This surrender is not about giving up control in the traditional sense, but about letting go of our attachment to how things should be and allowing the wisdom of life to guide us. It is only by surrendering to the flow of life that we truly align ourselves with the greater universe.
Conclusion. The ultimate awakening.
The tests faced by the chosen ones are not random, but are a series of spiritual trials designed to awaken us to our true nature. From confronting the truth of who we are to surrendering to life's flow, these tests are part of the journey toward enlightenment. The stories of Siddhartha, Angulimala, and Sariputta remind us that awakening is not a single moment but a continuous process of transformation. Through the trials of life, we come to realize that we are not separate from the world, but an integral part of it. Just as the Buddha teaches, the ultimate goal of life is not to escape suffering but to transcend it by understanding its nature and cultivating wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. The final test, the test of awakening, is the realization that we are all the chosen ones. We are not chosen because of some external reason, but because we have chosen to awaken, to see the truth, and to embrace the path of transformation. In the end, the greatest awakening is realizing that we are not separate from the universe. We are an expression of it, here to experience, to learn, and to grow. This perspective on the tests is not only rooted in Buddhist teachings, but also resonates with the universal human experience. To transform our lives, we must be willing to endure hardship, to confront our shadows, and to surrender control in order to step into the flow of life. It is through these challenges that we discover our true power, our awakening. The question remains, are we willing to face the tests that life presents and emerge transformed, free, and awakened?
The Kisa is ours, and the path is waiting.